Welcome back to The Explainer. It is June 25th, 2026, and wow, the scope of what is happening across the globe right now is literally massive. We're going to take 15 major developments from today and synthesize them so we can actually understand this shifting tapestry of our global reality. Let's get right into it.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're looking at global crises and conflicts, geopolitics and executive action, markets, money and labor, and finally, sports, culture, and science.
Starting off with Section 1, Global Crises and Conflicts.
Right now, northern Venezuela is dealing with an absolutely acute emergency, and it's defined by two massive numbers, 7.5 and 7.2. Those are the magnitudes of two catastrophic, back-to-back earthquakes that just rocked the region. It's devastating. We're looking at least 188 deaths, over 700 injuries, and widespread structural failures. It's gotten so bad that Maiquetía International Airport in Caracas is completely shut down, meaning inbound international search and rescue flights literally cannot land.
But you know, what's really incredible here is the human element. Because with official rescue flights completely grounded, the Venezuelan diaspora is stepping up, and they're moving fast. Expat communities all across Florida, Texas, and Utah are throwing together grassroots donation points. They're jumping on WhatsApp and Facebook groups to coordinate this massive logistical puzzle, packing medical supplies, antiseptics, and water to ship directly to the hardest-hit coastal state of La Guaira.
All right, shifting gears to the Russo-Ukrainian war, we're seeing this really stark contrast right now. Two very different realities in the occupied territories. On one side, physical evacuations. Crimea is actually shutting down most of its youth summer camps. They've had to evacuate hundreds of kids from the prominent Artex Center back to Russia because of highly precise Ukrainian drone strikes. But then, right alongside that physical retreat, you have this deep, bureaucratic entrenchment. Moscow is aggressively rolling out unified state history textbooks for 5th through 7th graders, textbooks that openly deny Ukrainian statehood while simultaneously expanding their digital governance portal to tighten internal surveillance.
And occupation officials are doubling down on these structural shifts. Intelligence monitors are reporting that Moscow is actively setting the stage to hold direct Russian State Duma elections right inside these seized Ukrainian territories. By solidifying that political annexation and expanding their internal control architecture, they're clearly laying the groundwork for long-term administrative control.
Moving into Section 2, Geopolitics and Executive Action.
We saw a major executive move today. President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 1413, titled Ushering in the Next Frontier of Quantum Innovation. This is a sweeping order. It establishes vast federal funding pathways and puts some very strict national security guardrails in place. The goal here is crystal clear: to accelerate and lock in U.S. dominance in quantum computing over global competitors. It's a massive top-down push to secure future technological supremacy.
But while we're pushing for future tech, we're still managing legacy conflicts. If you trace the timeline back from the post-war peace implementations in the 1990s to the initial emergency declaration in 2001, it brings us right to June 2026. The State Department just officially extended the national emergency for the Western Balkans. This keeps critical asset freezes and strategic sanctions locked in place against anyone threatening regional stability. And it really goes to show how these geopolitical policies require constant, ongoing maintenance.
Next up, Section 3, Markets, Money, and Labor.
Okay, deposit insurance assessment thresholds. I know, it sounds incredibly dense, but this mechanism is the lifeblood of financial stability. Led by Chairman Travis Hill, the FDIC just adjusted these key regulatory parameters to buffer the domestic macro-financial sector. Meanwhile, over in Europe, the European Central Bank signaled they're holding benchmark borrowing rates steady. Why? Because of lingering uncertainties and maritime supply chain snarls tied to a scuttled Middle East ceasefire earlier this week. It's a perfect example of how geopolitics and economics are completely intertwined.
So that brings up a really crucial question. While central banks and regulatory boards are doing all this top-down stabilization of the macroeconomy, what about the workers on the ground? How is rapid technological disruption hitting them today?
Well, we're basically watching a modern man versus machine battle playing out in real time. On one side, the rapid deployment of humanoid robots in factories is causing massive automation anxiety. On the other side, the Hyundai labor union in East Asia just hit a boiling point. Employees are on strike right now to lock in fixed baseline wages and profit sharing because they're terrified these new robots will systematically wipe out their overtime pay structures. The future of labor is literally being negotiated on the picket lines as we speak.
And that brings us to our final section, Sports, Culture, and Science.
We're seeing a really stark dual reality with the expanded 48-team FIFA World Cup currently sweeping North America. On the plus side, unprecedented global viewership metrics across YouTube and multi-billion-dollar tourism boosts. It's huge, but you have to weigh that against the severe logistical and transit strains hitting Canada, Mexico, and U.S. host cities. It is a total infrastructure overload as these places try to absorb a cultural phenomenon of this size.
Speaking of cultural infrastructure, how about $600,000? That's the massive federal funding injection the iconic Montreal Jazz Festival just received from the Canada Arts Presentation Fund. It's their 46th season, and this capital is a real game changer. It's empowering them to host over 350 public musical performances, bringing in 3,000 artists from 30 different countries. It's just a tangible, massive investment in keeping global arts alive and thriving. Meanwhile, the digital world saw an absolute overnight explosion in streaming. Why? Global Beatles Day. Fans everywhere tuned in to dedicated retrospective programming on digital radio and streaming services, just celebrating the enduring legacy of the band. It's honestly fascinating to see how one coordinated day of cultural appreciation can instantly trigger such a massive global data spike. Just like that, the charts go wild.
Looking ahead to the future of health, we just crossed a really interesting milestone. MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, officially opened speaker submissions for their historic Psychedelic Science 2027 conference in Denver. They're building on these newly shifting medical policy frameworks, and this 5-day gathering is going to bring scientists, cultural advocates, and therapists together to seriously explore the clinical future of psychedelics.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to chew on. Think about it. How does a single day on Earth hold devastating natural disasters and literal robot strikes, right alongside breakthroughs in the clinical future of psychedelics and massive global cultural celebrations? It's wild, right? How do we even begin to grasp the sheer interconnected complexity of a world that evolves this fast in just 24 hours? I hope today's synthesis helped you navigate it all just a little bit better. Keep questioning the world around you, and I'll see you in the next explainer.